What's up, everybody? How you doing? I hope you're doing great. I've got a couple announcements. We'll do new restaurant openings and we'll dive right in. All right, here we go. First off, I want to give a shout to our number one fan, Ken, neighbor Ken. I know he's listening right now, walking around Sloan's Lake. So, Ken, I'm challenging you to the Sloan's Lake Challenge. You need to give 3 high fives to a random person walking or jogging the opposite way. That is the Ken Sloan's Lake Challenge. Couple of things coming up, ladies and gentlemen. I interviewed Patrick Whalen from Church and Union. That'll be a special interview that'll be released in a couple of days. And then we're doing a Samana giveaway. So, Troy, I don't know if should I say this so it can be clipped for the TikTok, because I want to do the first giveaway through TikTok. So we'll give it a shot. What we do is everyone has to register, or no, they tag somebody. I got it. Okay.
Let's do the read.
Oh yeah, go for it. Let's see it.
So you see how good my ad reads are here for TikTok. Who can tell? So everybody's favorite Denver Float Center, Samana, is doing a giveaway. So for folks that don't know, Samana is the home of the float tank in Denver. So this is where you go. You could call it a sensory deprivation tank, but I think it's more of a sensory appreciation tank. So you go into this pod, it's got 18 inches of water, and you just relax. It's in the dark, or you could have a light on if you want, and you just absolutely relax. It's one of the most incredible sensations on planet Earth. And Samana is going to give away, 6 floats. So what we want to do is give away 3 pairs of floats. Couples floats, we'll say it, for somebody and their partner. Now, you don't float in the same place. You got to have your own space. This is about independence, but you can do it at the same time. So what we want to do is on TikTok, all you got to do is tag somebody down below that you want to do a float with. Somebody that you could text them and say, let's do a float tank, and they won't think you're a crazy person. And what we'll do is we'll take all the submissions, we'll put it randomly on the wheel, and we'll do a giveaway for whoever wants to go do a float with Samana. That's samanafloat.com. So shout out to them. Couple of announcements. We've got UMS coming up. So I want to give a shout out to Katie from Youth on Record that reached out to us and was like, hey, can you do a shout out for UMS? Of course. UMS is like my favorite festival in Denver, and it's coming up. So in order to get a ticket with paying no fees, you can go to Illegal Pete's on South Broadway, June 18th between 4 and 7. So you can buy all your UMS tickets and there's no service charges. Shout out to them. Also, shout out to Youth on Record, which has events at Civic Center Eats all the way through June. It's a free summer concert series at La Alma Park. So if you go to youthonrecord.org and love the work that they've been doing for years, they have a big hand in UMS as well. So go check out youthonrecord.org. Also, I want to give a shout out to a great company and a new product launch called Daffodil. And shout out to Sarah. So Daffodil is a new company that's coming out of Boulder. And what they do is they make it easier to give with intention to nonprofits. So basically, they're taking micro donations and micro volunteer opportunities and making them available for everybody to help support kind of local nonprofits. Now, with our newsletter, one of the most popular part is places that people can volunteer, which says a lot, I think, about the people of Denver and the listener of this podcast, that they're always excited to see new ways that they can volunteer and show support. And that's exactly what Daffodil is doing, is they're creating opportunities for folks like us to make donations with time or money to local nonprofits. They have a launch event on June 12th, which is a Thursday. It's at Crow's Nest, which is at 42nd and Tennyson at 6 p.m. So check them out. You can check all that out at getdaffodil.com. Now I've got a couple of restaurant openings. I want to give shout outs, since that's our new thing. First, we have Après, and I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's French. Après ski is the theme, and it's at Governor's Park. So Governor's Park is an iconic Denver bar. It's where I used to go with my girlfriend in high school. No further comment, but it's turned over and now it's being launched as Après, a ski themed tap room and eatery. That place is so much fun. I absolutely have so many great memories of that spot. So I'm glad they're doing some stuff. In Green Valley Ranch, we have 7 Brew Coffee. It's a drive-through Java joint. And then we have Savarina in the Denver Tech Center, which is a swanky new Italian-inspired restaurant inside the freshly launched Kimpton Claret Hotel in Denver Tech Center. So this is modern American cuisine with Italian flair. You can check them out too. So shout out to our new restaurateurs coming in. Tom, you ever been down to Governor's Park? I mean, it's après now, but it's après at Governor's Park.
I don't know where that is. I think that I've seen Opry. I'm not sure if this is a previous location or the new one that you're mentioning, but down right off of I think South Logan Street, I believe.
Yep.
That's
Is
it. That where this location is? Yeah, I saw them just the other day. I was passing by. I saw the new sign down there, right by Fire on the Mountain Wings.
Exactly. Yeah, technically it's on 7th, but it's Logan and 7th Ave. And Governor's Park seriously was it's like Don's mixed drinks. It's like one of those places you just go to get stinko. And perhaps back in the day they used to serve underage kids. But
oh man.
perhaps rumor has it. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
it's a nice little spot down there.
Yeah. Wait, in the 90s, they served kids with very, very suspicious identification.
Well, you said you took your high school girlfriend there. That was so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we would go there, have fun. And then the park was across the street. And, we would recite poetry to each other. It's great. It was very fun memories. Great spot. So shout out to them for doing it right and keeping that place alive.
Awesome.
Yeah. Let's dive right into it. Troy, what do you got on sports takes this week?
Yeah, we can run through some sports stuff quickly here. The Knicks fired their head coach. As we all saw, the Knicks were eliminated over the weekend in a 4-1 deficit to the Pacers. Is that right?
Yeah.
4-2.
Unbelievable.
It was either 4-1 or 4-2. But I was kind of surprised to see them fire their head coach. You made it to the semi-conference finals. The Eastern Conference Finals. You were right there, one step away. I guess they didn't put up as much of a fight as they should have with the roster they had, as the way ownership saw it. So,
this is brand new news to me. Troy, what's the reasoning? I mean, they had a great season. There must have been something.
Official statement, Leon Rose, on the dismissal of Tom Thibodeau, the head coach. Our organization is singularly focused on winning a championship for our fans. This pursuit led us to the difficult decision to inform Tom Thibodeau that we've decided to move in another direction. So it's championship or nothing for them right now. They think they have the roster to do it. They're probably disappointed in the fight they put up against Indiana. It wasn't very convincing, and they cut ties. He's done. So this team they have a championship mindset right now. So it's all or nothing for them, it seems. Just crazy. That's a bad beat for Tom Thibodeau.
I know. I mean, it's no disrespect to that guy. The Pacers are a good basketball team.
Yeah,
exactly. Like what?
I don't know.
What are you supposed to do? I mean, there had to have been something acute. Something must have happened, because that just seems preposterous. We still haven't gotten the full tale on what happened with Malone. But that probably just came down from Jokic. But I mean, is there a solo player on the Knicks that really carries that much water? I mean, who would it be? Towns or Brunson is like, but it doesn't. Those guys they don't have the same franchise tag as Jokic does. I don't know.
You can't take anything at face value in the NBA. Any of these headlines. There's always some sort of behind the curtain activity going on, I think. But totally. Yeah, the Pacers are a good basketball team. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too disappointed if I was the Knicks. But that kind of segues into the next thing. Pacers, OKC finals. It's locked in. Tips off on Thursday. Finals predictions. I'm going OKC in 6.
Yeah, I might even say OKC in 5. You're not beating that team. Those guys are just lights out right now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're I don't remember the record, but the combined record with regular season wins and potential playoff wins, including the championship, would be up there with like some of the greatest seasons of all time. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's like up there with the 2016 Warriors. They had like a 72 win season. So like the total cumulative wins for the whole season, including playoffs, it could be pushing like one of the greatest seasons of all time, which is crazy. It kind of like snuck up that way on us. I wasn't really considering I'm a team like that, but
I know.
the numbers don't lie.
I know. And probably one of the greatest historic free throw attempts by SGA for the whole season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Uh Man, but that's a good basketball team. I like that team a lot. And it kind of breaks my heart because you see, like the Nuggets took them to 7. If we could have got past them, man, this might have been another championship year.
Wide
When
open.
when they're thinking about that in the offseason, I mean, they're gonna have to make some moves, but it's like, dude, how many do you really need to make? It's like the team is right there. It's
Mhm.
like, do you want to dismantle it? And there's been a bunch of rumors going around MPJ and all his different 3-4 team deals. So I think the offseason with the Nuggets could be uh, a complete switch of the face of the team. Well, not the face of the team, but like just the team that we're used to, I think is not going to exist, next season. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely encouraging as a Nuggets fan that series went to 7. Just looking at how dominant OKC's been, really aside from that series. So
Yeah, exactly.
it does feel like if that game 7 shook out a little differently, the Nuggets would be like on the cusp, like right on the cusp of another one. So I don't
Mm.
like Nuggets Pacers would be a much, I don't know. Nuggets could win that series, I think, but we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Last topic, flag football has been announced in the Olympics, the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. There's been mixed reviews from different NFL players. Some not interested, some more interested, which is interesting to me. I'm curious to see how it'll play out. Like as we've seen in the Pro Bowl, flag football at an NFL level is not too exciting. Just, I mean, the players they don't want to get hurt. Um, I've already seen like interviews from like Jamar Chase, for instance. He was not interested in it at all. Um,
I get
Mahomes,
that.
yeah, Mahomes was not interested. So Bijan Robinson from the Falcons was one of the ones who was interested. So it'll be interesting to see like which players opt in and how it shakes out. Very
Well,
curious to see.
I like the controversy too, because I guess there's a whole like men's flag football league and they're all feeling super disrespected and calling out the NFL, but like, you can't play in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I don't know. Travis Hunter and flag football would be pretty exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's like, are people gonna tune in to see the professional men's flag football league, or are they gonna tune in to see Travis Hunter play flag football?
Dude, that
My
would be
other
so cool.
my other question is who would the rivalry countries be? Because
That's what I'm saying. Who on earth is competing against the US in any American football style event?
I don't know. Like, I don't know of any NFL players that are not from America besides a few. There's very few. So,
I guess if it's flag, you could just get like your nation's best like sprinters and your most agile people, you know.
yeah, it evens the playing field a little bit, given it's not tackle.
Yeah. I mean, if you went Nigerians, but see, there's a lot of Nigerian Americans, a lot in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But if they could play for Nigeria, the Polynesians could play. I mean, all the Hawaiians could play for like, I don't know, something else, Fiji or something, like another Polynesian nation.
Mm-hmm.
Those two would be powerhouses for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
could be
You
good.
know,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but the Olympics hits LA 3 years from now. So keep an eye on that as that develops.
cool. I'm a big fan of flag football. People might not know like just like how exciting that sport is, but it's kind of like football, but like it's way more fast paced, way more scoring, way more big plays, and I can't wait to see it like with elite level athleticism. Like you're gonna see. I mean, I don't know if you guys watch 7-on-7 league of what they're doing in high school and the college level, and that is like unbelievable. But that's like two-hand touch. Like the flag football gives you the ability to do some spin moves and some different things. So It's amazing. Okay. We have our guest. Kyle is here. Tom, if we got time at the end, we have to do Tom's takes with your featured. If we don't get to it, ladies and gentlemen, go to realgooddenver.com and we're definitely going to post it on the newsletter tomorrow. Kyle disappeared. Maybe he'll come back. So Tom, why don't you hit it and give us a quick rundown while Kyle gets ready to come back on the show.
Sure. I had one take, but I'll just hop into a couple quick events that are cool and it's coming up. Denver Greek Festival, going to be this weekend, June 6th, 7th, and 8th. This is at 4610 East Alameda Avenue, also known as the Assumption of the Theotokos Greek Orthodox Metropolis Cathedral of Denver.
Big gold dome. Love it.
That's what that is, right? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's only $5 to get in, and just head over there and get some absolutely amazing Greek food. See some cool cultural performances and events and seminars, things like that. $5, yeah. Kids are free. Kids under 12 are free. I'm seeing latkes. I'm seeing euros. I'm seeing anything that you can imagine in terms of food, and it's probably worth it just for that. So definitely thinking about checking that one out. Quick music event. Some of my homies are over at Cervantes throwing it down. This is going to be Import with Nautica, Critical Hit, Dank, Frank, and Big Nut Chuck. My boys over there, they're going to be throwing down some bass music at Cervantes. That is this weekend on June 6th, Friday. Definitely worth checking it out if you are a experimental bass, dubstep type of person.
Amazing. All right, let's let Kyle in. He's there.
Yes. Let's do it.
Here we go. And of course, we'll have the Red Rock schedule, which will be on the newsletter, no doubt about it, because it's a solid week at Red Rocks this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't want to miss those events.
No, absolutely not.
Kyle.
Hi.
How are you, buddy? You're live.
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Good. Nice to meet you, Ryan. Nice to see you, Troy.
Yeah. Welcome on the show.
Yeah, appreciate it. Let me get that fire extinguisher out. There we go.
Amazing. We're so excited to talk to you. Give us a rundown. I know you have a couple of, obviously, fitness is very important in your life. Talk to the people of Denver a little bit about your companies and what you're up to.
Absolutely. So right now I'm in the grand opening facility of Colorado Weightlifting Club and the Cove. So it's a joint. I partnered with my business partner. His name is Charlie Wright, but we partnered together. He was going to start a sauna and cold plunge facility in another warehouse or another facility in Denver, and it happened to just be the one that I was leaving. So he called up my business to ask my opinion about the landlord and the previous 5-6 years I was there. And unfortunately, it wasn't a good experience. We had a lot of rain damage. I don't know if you remember. I mean, we're dealing with it now, but the last 3-4 years have been horrible around this time for rain. So I told him our experience. I told him what I was doing, and I really wanted to get into the sauna, cold plunge, and hot tub space. So we decided to join. He's a social worker, so he's got his master's in behavioral health. I went to school for physical therapy. I worked for a few years in a clinic after college, and I really enjoyed the anatomy, the physiology part. But I was an athlete through and through. I was a swimmer growing up. I got an All-American 500 free in college, and I love the pace of competing. And I'm trying to bring a little bit of that here with Olympic weightlifting. So Colorado Weightlifting Club primarily does Olympic weightlifting, and we've been around since 2016. Not backyard, but more garage gym from 2012. So we've been a staple here in Colorado for quite a while, and we were able to move into a new location on South Broadway. So we're right next to Volo Sport. They have those volleyball courts on South Broadway now. So we're literally right next door to them. And we have about a 4,000 square foot facility. We have 20 plus capacity for sauna. And then we have 5 cold plunges that turn into hot tubs. So it's great equipment, great companies that we got them from. And then we also have about 2,000 square foot of platform space. So that means your barbells, your plates, your buffer plates, squat racks, things like that. And that's kind of what we're starting here.
Cool.
Amazing.
And what people might not know is just how fun Olympic weightlifting is. It seems a little bit intimidating for folks that are used to like the Nautilus machines and maybe doing this and that. Like what's the pitch to get people into Olympic lifting? Because I think it's super fun.
Absolutely. Depending on how you're introduced, a lot of people are introduced through CrossFit, and CrossFit has its demons, it has its pros. A lot of people are already opinionated on that. So let's, move away from that. But CrossFit is a great way that people come up and experience weightlifting. But the other thing I really want to talk about from the physical therapy standpoint is overhead stability is very, I don't want to say underrated, but a lot of people don't give enough credit to being able to do an overhead squat. So it's one of those things where if you look at overall mortality, right? So there's, when you look at geriatrics, for an example, if you fall over and you can't get up, there's a 40% higher rate of mortality in that that subset that literally doesn't have the mobility or the strength to get up off the floor. So if you look at that in a subset and look at that as the overhead squat, if we just get someone proficient at using the barbell, and a lot of people come from dumbbells, and barbell might be scary, right? Just like you're talking about. So it's something where we can look at it from the therapeutic setting, where just getting accustomed to a barbell and having a good overhead squat, that will add hours, add days to your life, just because of the mobility things that you are able to do, just by able to do that one task. And then the sport of Olympic weightlifting, because it's in the name, it gets a lot of, just emotion about it. You're like, man, I don't want to become an Olympian. I'm not ready to go on stage. I just want to have fun in the barbell club. So that's the best part about the sport, is it has this club, I hate saying warehouse, because a lot of us start in warehouses, but it has this garage type community feel, that you don't necessarily get in a lot of sports, because the grind that we have to work through, it's something that you can share with the person next to you, and they're doing the exact same thing. So regardless if you're trying to go to the Olympics, or if you're just trying to learn some new movements to just stay, let's just say stay alive longer and move better, Olympic weightlifting is going to be something that utilizes everything. And the next part of it is just the training and the programming as far as the exercises go. A lot of Olympic weightlifters turn into strength and conditioning coaches at universities. So a good example is there's a weightlifting coach in the Springs. Her name is Jackie Berube. She went and actually was a strength and conditioning director at Northwestern, and now she's back in the Springs doing Pinnacle Weightlifting Club. But the caveat with that is just, you can take Olympic weightlifting from the technical side of learning the sport, learning the programming, or you can look at it as, this is just a fun way to blow off some steam with several people, not several, but as many people could fit in my gym and fit in our place that, want to have the same goal, is just trying something hard and, having a great day afterwards.
So cool. And so Colorado Weightlifting, that's the club, and the Cove is the facility. Is that right?
The Cove is the wellness side. So the
Got it.
saunas, the cold plunges, the hot tubs. We have other protocols, and we have coaching that facilitates that too. Because a lot of people have heard a lot about what the sauna can do for you, or what cold plunges can do for you, or even hot tubs. But a lot of it comes without guidance or recommendations on how to use it. For one example is stress, right? Everyone's trying to manage stress, but the one thing I've taken from my education was, you have to work with it. Stress is going to be a part of your life, right? It's how you manage it and how you can work through it. Now, the one example of how you can use the Cove to making your life a little bit less stressful is, cold plunge. And I don't know if any of you have looked up information on the cold plunge, but if you can spike your cortisol by doing something stressful like the cold plunge first thing in the morning, if we know anything about hormones, hormones are cyclical and they also affect every cell of the body. So once you get that cortisol spike in the morning, you have the rest of the day where everything's going to not feel so bad because you already had that peak. And by the end of the day, your body's ready to recover, and all the food you eat at night is ready to be turned into all the good hormones that help you grow. So that's one example for how something stressful like a cold plunge can be utilized, even if it's 5, 10, 15 minutes in the beginning of the day to help. And then on the other side, just, a hot tub is something that people can relax in, but there's also some other aspects to it as far as like inflammation and just other things like that.
Mhm.
Amazing.
I've got a question about the cold plunge in sauna, fire and ice. This is something that's been happening in Scandinavian countries since the dawn of time. In
Absolutely.
America, now it's like this, it's a whole subculture, and I love it. It's great. But the question I have really is like, there's differences culturally between the Americans and Scandinavians. Like, how do I convince my Scandinavian friends that I just want to keep my shorts on in the sauna and cold plunge? These guys are like shaming me for like keeping my clothes on.
It's tough. I get it. There's a few here in Denver too. It's culturally, I don't know. But here we do require swimsuits. We are next to Love Bridal, so we have one of the most popular bridal shops here in Denver, and we do have plenty of people coming by. So unfortunately, even if they came, we wouldn't let them. But it's one of those things where it's no matter how you use it, a sauna is going to be great if you use it beginning of the day, end of the day, or it's just something that is before the workout, after the workout. But to add to that, that's how we see cold plunge and sauna is in this traditional bathhouse setting. So that's where I think a lot of people misunderstand like how it is to be utilized. A lot of people feel that it is just different than what it is, and how I don't kind of say just the professionalism of it, but absolutely, we'll take care of you here. And we do have private saunas. So the one thing is we have individual saunas, and we have saunas that can fit up to 6 to 10 people. So if you do need a little bit more of your space, we have a sauna that's just a solo one.
Perfect. If people want to learn more about Colorado Weightlifting the Club, find out how to join, or just are interested in finding out more information, where can they go?
Absolutely. So coloradoweightlifting.com. And then, we have our memberships up there. We have our times, we have group coaching, and we have other contact and info about weightlifting as well. And then the covesauna.com. So both of those will link to each other. If you do click the gym option, and in Colorado Weightlifting, if you click the hot tub cold plunge option.
All right. I've got a little game prepared. So what I want to do, what I want to do is lob some potentially controversial subject matter, people, places, or things about the fitness community broadly, and just get your reaction.
Sure.
So let's start with this one. Kipping pull-ups.
Dude, it's tough. They're harder than you think. I'll tell you that. They're harder than you think.
What is a kipping pull-up? I don't even know what that is.
It's when you use your full body as you use your hips and the extension that your hips get when you squeeze your glutes together. So just think the amount of power you can generate from a hip thrust, a glute bridge. You're using that to push yourself up and get the pull-up done instead of using strict arm strength.
Okay. That sounds hard. Interesting.
But again, it's hard to coordinate, right? You look just like a dead fish sometimes. But again, do them well. I'll give CrossFit credit. Do them well. It takes some skill.
All right. Carnivore diet.
I was keto for a long time. I never jumped onto the carnivore train. Honestly, I think people need to try everything, just so you know how your body reacts to it. But, don't necessarily believe what everyone says. Take your own experience into it, especially if we're just talking about, subtle or small, I mean, some people might call it big, but small nutritional changes. But I don't believe the hype, but I do think protein gets a lot of hate, when it comes to, science says that we can have a lower protein diet and still thrive. So it comes in with high protein. Oh, I'm just going to turn into a bodybuilder. So it's just like I started a business. I hope I accidentally become a billionaire, right?
So you weaned off keto? Like what is your diet recommendations now, or what are you doing?
Sure. So I did keto after I had so keto really helped me as far as mental health. So I do feel like there is a lot that you can gain from having to rely on your body and having to rely on fasting. My longest fast was about 78 hours. I had, I used a ketone product, so I definitely got sold by some of those, but again, it was something where I needed that in my life to kind of pull me together and get me back to a place where I could trust myself, and fasting and having that sort of regulated plan and diet worked. Now, again, on a long-term scale, no, I don't believe it's good for a long-term scale, especially if you're trying to produce muscle. If you're trying to gain muscle and try to have quality muscle tissue to use, keto is not going to be the best. The keto is kind of like, I would say, the Ironman athletes kind of diet, because you can have the best of as much protein, carbs, and fat as you need, but you're also relying on your body's ability to utilize its own stores and its own carbohydrates in your pre-race fuel.
So the keto would not be good for muscle gain. What is it, like a more carb centric kind of diet, better for muscle?
Oh,
No.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. No, keto's not good for muscle gain, because you have the restriction of carbs. So at the end of the day, you should be backloading your carbs towards the end of the day. So, if I was to give a recommendation for somebody who wanted to gain quality muscle, and kind of did enjoy some of the things about keto, would, you keep your carbs and you backload them. So in the morning, you have your proteins and fats, because it doesn't restrict gastric absorption. So what that means is, if your body's already has a system of creating its own fuel source and using what you have, if you eat foods that are more fat based and more protein based, your body doesn't necessarily switch to the carb based energy system, which it does if your first meal or you spiked your day with glucose, right? So that's one recommendation for the best of both. And then towards lunch and dinner, you backload your carbs, so that towards the end of the day, your carbs can turn into all the good hormones, like your growth hormones, your testosterone. So instead of being turned into progesterone and all the other, harmful ones that cause more weight gain. But yes, if you want to build muscle, carbs are your friend. Carbs are your friend. You don't let someone tell you that they're not essential, even though, because your liver does make, can make carbohydrates. So again, carbs are essentially one of the things that isn't essential. But that's, again, kind of where the misnomers in science come from, where it's like, when we talk about non-essential, we talk about, yes, you can survive, but if you need to grow and create better muscle and create better skill and create better, just overall better health, yeah, carbs are your friend.
Nice. How about deadlifts? So, my son's playing high school football and they are all about cleans, all about squats, but they don't let them deadlift. What's your experience with sports performance and deadlifting?
So this is tough. I've coached plenty of youth athletes, and I definitely have heard some critiques. The biggest critique I see is that coaches and strength and conditioning coaches in high school are too worried about, can an athlete do can they put two blues on the barbell and squat it? Because I've had athletes, when I was personal training, come and be like, yeah, my coach won't even talk to me if I can't clean 225, squat 225. So there's just arbitrary numbers that, so now, to look back at, what colleges like to see, so if your son or anybody else wants to go and further their sport into college or into pro, yeah, they're going to want to see power. They're going to see that you can control the power that you have. So cleans are very, very good at doing that. Now, as far as deadlifts go, deadlift in the sense of deadlift, I wouldn't recommend it, right? So now, if we needed to show that you are strong enough to do a clean, and we did that by deadlifting, right? That's a different story, right? But unless you're a power lifter, or unless you're a strong man in those sports specifically, deadlifts are going to be something that I wouldn't touch at a 90 to 100% level very often, right? I would keep them low, in the 60 to the 80% range of max, and work within a rep range that can facilitate growth or adaptation within a 60 to 80% of your total deadlift volume or weight. Yeah, just because too many kids try to just max out on everything, and it's just so young, because they feel that that's what's going to get seen on the field. That's what's going to get their coach to finally focus on them. But no, it's just stick to the plan that you have. If you love the sport, keep doing it. But power, cleans, other aspects like a snatch, that's powerful, but a clean is what something that most colleges will look for. But yeah, it's a great movement and a great way to judge power.
It's really cool. Like the NFL Combine, 225 is the magic number for sure.
Yeah.
And at the high school level, it's 185. So it's like, how many cleans, how many benches can you do at 185, which is really interesting to see. But deadlift has its own cult around it. And I don't know, did you see this like video between Eddie Hall and Thor Bjornsson talking about
Sure.
where he was saying like who weighed the plates and like,
yeah, no, they'll go down to the nitty gritty of like, was it done in the AM or PM? Was it, again, like Eddie Hall saying his dad weighed the plate, so it didn't count. But I mean, that's the part of the sport that you just, records are asterisks after asterisks after asterisks, right? Especially in powerlifting, if you don't understand powerlifting or know it, it's like, raw, is it with 10, this certain ply leg wrap? Is it, raw with, suit, so there's so many asterisks in these kind of things. But yeah, no, I love that though. I grew up watching like the Metrics World's Strongest Man growing up, like when it was on ESPN, and that was fun for me. But yeah, deadlifting, that's so what we're trying to do also here at Colorado Weightlifting is we want to incorporate high school weightlifting. So Texas and Florida both currently have a high school weightlifting program, right? So they don't do Olympic weightlifting traditionally like it's done, but they do where they do a snatch, they do a clean, and I believe they do a bench press. I have to further, I might be guessing, but they have a program and it's been working really well, because just like you're stating, there's a lot of kids that have a tough relationship with these movements, right? When we were kids, or I'm 35, so when I was kids, it was bench press, right? It was always, what could you bench? If you look like you could do anything, anyone's like, what can you bench? So today it looks like, again, it's due to social media and TikTok. It's, what can you deadlift? What can you, and cleans. I'm very happy. Don't get me wrong. Cleans, people are pushing them. Sometimes they have less than quality movement, but I'll take that more than someone trying to just push their deadlift.
I'm gonna keep going, guys. You guys got anything? I have so many of these stacked up.
I wanted to dive in a little bit more about the Chile's stolen generation story, if we have time. But if you wanted to quickly cover anything else before in fitness before we move on to that, otherwise I'm good.
No, I mean, so it all kind of links together. It's the reason why I am doing what I'm doing, and it also is another reason why I ended up, we'll call it karma or circumstance, or just luck, but how I ended up finding a partner with such an extensive, behavioral health background. So yeah, no, I mean, the story it begins that, I'm from Chile. So I'm from, in South America. It's the thinnest country. Everyone I think knows it from that standpoint alone. But yeah, so I was born in Chile in 1989, and the political stance wasn't great. It just meant that there a lot of things went through the cracks. And my mom was a young mom. She was working a nanny job, and I already had an older sibling, and she had to have someone watch me. So as the story goes, from this NGO, this nonprofit that helped find this all out, was she dropped me off at a daycare in the morning, and then in the evening went to go pick me up, and I was gone. And she, apparently the daycare attendant had taken a bribe, and someone had gone in and taken me from that daycare and moved me, 50 miles north to an orphanage. And the rest of the story is, I got adopted, and here I am. But yeah, I mean, human trafficking is something that's the reason why I'm here, but it's also the reason why I really enjoy weightlifting, and the physical challenge of what you do when you pick up something, so I don't know if anyone's heard of EMDR or other type of therapeutic type modalities, but a lot of that has to do with a tactile feel, connecting with left to right eye movements, along with helping to create memories or to find memories that have been blocked. So I feel very much that when we say the barbell is therapy, there is something behind that. So my business partner and I, in 2 years, because a lot of this takes time. Small business is no joke. That's the part about us moving on to South Broadway. There's a lot. It was a big learning curve. We came from a warehouse gym. That's why I always let that slip. But so anyways, but the whole point is, so coming from that experience, it's really shaped me to that. Trauma doesn't have to define you, and a lot of times we get stuck in this fight, flight, or freeze. And the freeze comes from sometimes we need that defining moment. We need a definition, or we need something to be our anchor. And unfortunately, a lot of us have trauma as that, and that causes a block, whether it's physical or mental or spiritual or emotional. It causes a block for us to not live up to our full potential. So that coupled with my physical therapy education, with my business partners, therapeutic as far as the mental therapy and the behavioral health side, we want to bridge the gap and actually find a way to make protocols or make things that people can do on their own and have a little bit more science back to it. But yeah, it's I know we hear a lot about human trafficking today, and it's definitely, it does a good service. It does I love that we're talking about it, but there's so much more that needs to be talked about, because there's so much more that people don't understand on what human trafficking is. Someone could look at my story and just be he was adopted. How we got to the adoption doesn't matter, because he has a better life. A lot of people might go to that assumption, but there's a lot to what human trafficking really is, and how it can affect people, and also just how many people out there who don't necessarily know their full story. Because as adoptions go, some people the parents have a choice. It's up to them if they want to share the story of the birth, or if they want to keep them involved or not involved, and kind of more assimilate them into the family. So I had a great family. We had our ups and downs. I grew up in Chicago. My parents, they grew up in the South Side of Chicago, so I have a lot of great history and great stories from having two living parents that were from a different generation. They were older; they were born in the 40s, and it's just it was an amazing time, and they gave me a huge amount of privilege, and I do owe everything to them. But yeah, the kicker of this story is I didn't find out till I was 28. I had quit my job at Discount Tire. I was with them for 7 years as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do between physical therapy and where I am now. And I was just like, well, I'm ready. Let me find my birth mom. So I go on Google, and I don't know what to do, so I'm just typing in Chilean birth mom search. And there's a lot of people out there that do this kind of thing. And so I found one organization, and it's called Nos Buscamos, and they were able to look me up through my birth name and through my birthday, and they were able to find my mom. And it was, I'll tell you, I mean, it was a nerve-wracking moment, because they, in adoption and all this kind of, and all this, with all this, they set you up, and they have to educate you on how certain things are. Like maybe your mom doesn't want to talk to you. Maybe because of some certain actions on how you were born, they don't want to have that relationship. But to my surprise, has nothing to do with that. It was my family had thought I was gone. They thought I was dead. For 28 years, they didn't know what happened to me, and they wanted to meet me. They want to see me. So to this day, I still haven't met them. So it's tough. Just COVID happened kind of a few years after I found out, and then I started this venture, and all my money's been pouring into the gym and helping people. But yeah, my mom still lives in Chile. I still have a good chunk of the family that is in Santiago, that I still haven't met yet. So at some point I do want to go and meet them. But it's whether it's from just normal adoptions to foster care to human trafficking. It's, my story and what I offer and what we hope to offer here at Colorado Weightlifting and the Cove is, just that we can all come together. And the biggest thing is that the world isn't happening to us. No matter what the trauma is, no matter what happened, we're it's just like a river. We're along for the ride. It doesn't mean that things are always going to be hunky dory. Nature doesn't nurture, but we have the power and free will to create whatever we want. On paper, I should be back in Chile, and it's a developing country. There's no way that I could be here in Denver, South Broadway, you know, having the opportunity to help people, help my community, and bring fitness and weightlifting and all this to Denver. So again, there's so many silver linings. But yeah, I mean that's a brief bit of my story and how I came here, and I'm still working on it. I still trying to find support groups or trying to create support groups through other people that have been trafficked, and also just help with organizations and things like that, and also maybe start my own. But I got to do one thing at a time. This business that I started, the coaching that I'm doing is going to help fund the nonprofit stuff. So that's our goal, is within 2 to 5 years here to create a good enough plan and have some grants and do some research on that. But yeah, so about 2 to 3 years to start really ramping up our trauma informed coaching.
That's incredible. And thank you so much for sharing that story with us and the audience, and I like what you said, like trauma doesn't define you. And although it's a traumatic event, there's something powerful and poetic about how you've kind of harnessed that and it shaped your story and who you are and your purpose, and what you're doing today. That's amazing.
Absolutely, thank you. I mean, it's tough. It hasn't been easy. Therapy always helps. That's the one thing, especially with men's mental health. Therapy is always an answer. That sounds harsh, but always an answer. It's always an option. It's always a tool. Um, but yeah, it's been a ride, and I'm grateful for every day of it. Unfortunately, it couldn't be a good sunny day here in Denver. I'd be sitting outside, and we could do this outside. But we have our June summer storms, and I also saw that the outdoor fest got canceled, so that kind of sucks for a little bit of Denver fun. But no, yeah, there's always silver linings, and the biggest thing is there's always someone that you're going to meet that might have a different trauma, might have a perceived trauma that is different than yours. They have the battle they're always dealing with, and sometimes we can feel so alone and so secluded in our own fight that we forget that there's a world of people that want to be there with you, want to help you, or just want to listen.
It's incredible. Just to echo Troy's statement, thank you so much for sharing that. That's that is the most unbelievable curveball I've ever heard someone getting when they're 28. And I'm sure that it takes a lifetime of unpacking, and just props to you, man. It's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. When people want to come train with you, how do they connect with you? Where can they come train and learn Olympic weightlifting? Because again, like I got turned on to Olympic weightlifting through CrossFit, probably like most people. And that was always my favorite part. It's like, I don't want to do wall balls. I don't want to do burpees. I don't want to go fast. I want to do cleans and snatch.
Yeah. Or it's like, I couldn't double under, or, I couldn't pistol squat. And I was like, those are the one things that I couldn't do. So I'm like, so I get it. No, yeah, wherever your start is, Colorado Weightlifting will always have a place for you. Whether it's, again, you're just the enthusiastic lifter who wants to learn and wants to go from using dumbbells to barbells and just have that confidence, or again, if someone wants to compete at a national or Olympic level for Olympic weightlifting, we're at 1361 South Broadway, so we're I would say right between Evans and the I-25 on Broadway. So we're on South Broadway. Some of the places around, just to give some shout outs to some places I've been visiting here just to create some more community, is we're right by the Dive In. Cluck Chicken, it's one of the best chicken spots ever, but the Dive In's right next door, and that apparently is a staple in the South Broadway community. And then at Alitas, we have the Empanada place right across the street. GB's Fish and Chips is our neighbor, so I don't know if anyone's familiar with that area. And then baked in Denver that there's a donut shop right there. So we're right in the mix of it. And then of course the volleyball court's right behind us. So if anybody wanted to play volleyball or pickleball, Bolo has your stuff there. So yeah, we're right in the heart of South Broadway, and we're open 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. So that's the difference we're trying to bring is a lot of the South Broadway and just South Denver gyms are appointment only, and there is no kind of space for someone who wants to have a morning lift or a late night after work lift. So we're trying to help fix that gap and give people a place to come when they don't necessarily want to be led by an instructor and they want to have their own thing to do. And we have hot tubs, cold plunges, saunas to help yourself relax and cool down before the end of the day.
And I'm from South Denver, so
Very
I want to
cool.
give a shout out to that neighborhood too with Bill's Sports Collectibles. I live in Broadway. That place raised me essentially with baseball cards and throwback jerseys. Unbelievable. I want to talk a little bit real quick before we go here about kind of your ideal clients. My son is a junior in high school. He's a linebacker that weighs 170 pounds. We got to get him up to 185. You know what I mean? So I would love to bring him in and help refine. He's got great squats. He's got great form, but to get him like the finer details of lifting seems like a great person. Who are some of your favorite customers as well?
So we're gonna have a few different kinds of customers. So I look at it as just, we're not trying to label you, funnel you, but there's the skill based and then there's the competency based. There's the people that, I might not do it right, but by golly, I'm gonna do it 5 days a week and I'm gonna stick to it. And I know that if I trust the process, we're gonna get there. And then there's the other part where, man, like I can really get this movement, the fact that I can get it really quickly, I'm not going to do it very often, right? So there's two subsets of athletes. So with that, we can work with anybody here, right? We can work with anybody, but the ideal client, I would say, is just someone that's curious to learn about the barbell. And again, there's a lot of just things that you can learn as far as the safety side. So again, if you want to go to your normal gym or your home gym or 24-hour fitness and have a better acumen of how to pick up the barbell and squat, and do things more comfortably, we can help you. But also the ideal client is just, again, anybody who, and I know this is tough, but anybody who's coachable. And we can help discover what that word means for you. But Olympic weightlifting and what we do can help anybody. I have a 10-year-old 10-year-old tennis player. I just had a visit the other day from a 14-year-old hockey goalie. He specifically came because he was recommended from his goalie coach that Olympic weightlifting will help. So I mean, it's from hockey to last year I even worked with on his off season a Team USA ice climber. So I don't know if you're familiar with speed ice climbing, but we have here in Denver one of the top speed ice climbers in the world. Now I had the pleasure of working with him and helping him on his off season to be better for the next season. And then at DU I had the opportunity of working with their top downhill ski coach, their master ski coach. And for me, whatever curiosity the customer or the athlete or the client brings in, I will meet tenfold in trying to meet you and figure out where you're coming from and how we can make, again, if it's squatting so you can pick up your kids or squatting so that you can just hang out and play with them, as opposed to squatting to win a world record, I really want to find out what makes you you, and then we can find a balance of what we have to offer here.
Amazing. Gentlemen, any other questions for Kyle before we get out of here?
I think everything was covered there. It's a really cool story, and I think that a lot of people could benefit from this type of community, and I think what you guys are building down there is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And one more pitch is we have an Olympian coming in. So his name is Wes Kitts. So July 4th weekend, I know it's a tough weekend, but July 4th weekend, we have Wes Kitts. He is an Olympian in Olympic weightlifting. He went to the Tokyo Olympics and he also went to the most recent Olympics. He'll be at our gym doing a seminar Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that weekend. So if anybody does want to come and have a introduction into weightlifting, not necessarily like they feel like they have to be committed to a gym or a club, but they want to learn from the best, we have West kits coming. So if anybody wants any more information about that, you're going to reach out to besomebodygym.com, or just look up West Kits on Instagram or any of his other social media accounts.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Final closing question. What's one piece of advice you'd give someone looking to build community from the ground up in Denver?
Yeah, tough, but you just trust your community. Trust. Working with the city for loans and for other things to help this project get off the ground. It's just trust that there is a community out there. Whether or not you found it already or you're searching for a community. Even if the community is just South Denver, there's a community out there, and trust that once you're able to take the first steps to walk in and meet them where they're at, there's going to be people that are willing to give you tenfold back in just accommodations, respect, love. That's what we're here for.
That's amazing, man. Appreciate it so much.
Yeah,
Amazing.
thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Kyle. Really appreciate it. I'm going to come down there. I'm bringing my son.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Come on by. Like I said, we work with plenty of youth athletes, and we have plenty of time, and we have plenty of equipment. We have, probably 2,000 kilos of weight. We have barbell galore. We have squat racks. We have everything. So, and the website has plenty of pictures, and so does our socials. Colorado Weightlifting is our social for Instagram, and then our website is coloradoweightlifting.com.
Tremendous. Thanks so much, Kyle.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it so much.
You bet.
Bye.
Wow, what an incredible story.
Yeah, might have been the most
Really
incredible
awesome.
story we've had on the show yet to date.
I agree. Man, Kyle, that was awesome. The thing I want to stress too is like how fun Olympic weightlifting is. I know people will get a little bit intimidated by it, but it's really fun, and you don't have to go super heavy. But like for mobility and form, like this is really the most important kind of functional fitness you can possibly do. Is throwing weight around the right way with proper form. Like this is how you get strong, and this is how you like stay limber. Like what he's talking about, being safe as you age. Like this creates bone density and strength. It's so fun. And we met Kyle from TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say anecdotally, possibly the best TikTok content is slow motion videos of Olympic lifts. It is absolutely captivating. So if you're out there looking for TikTok content, you got to get that clean and slow motion. It's just, it's so elegant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need more of that in my algorithm.
That's a doubt.
Nice. You guys got anything in closing before we get out of here?
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think we're all good after that. Great way to wrap up the show this week, without a doubt.
100%. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you coming on the show. Troy, thanks so much for facilitating the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, go to realgooddenver.com and definitely sign up for the newsletter that's coming out tomorrow. We'll try and promote as we get closer to that event that Kyle's got going on, it sounds like the 4th of July weekend, to make sure people can go check that out. But again, thanks to him, and have a wonderful week, everybody.
All right.
All right.
Soon. See you next week.
Bye, guys.